Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new show from Creative Strategies. I am Ben Bajarin. I'm joined by my colleague Carolina Milanesi. Our goal with this is to provide insightful commentary on hot topics, trends, and news from the overarching technology industry. Carolina, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm actually excited because it's been a while since you and I have done a podcast together. And my goal, aside from insights, will be to make you relax a little bit and be funny.
This good goal should be fairly easy because I'd rather be funny than serious. So, hot topic today. Hot topic from the weekend. Lots of interesting things have been going down around OpenAI, and obviously the conversations focused around AI since it's a hot topic. Just to summarize, on Friday, sometime in the afternoon, I don't remember exactly what time, OpenAI put out a brief press release saying that there was some management changes coming, and from that, then proceeded to say that Sam Altman had been fired and then subsequently Greg Brockman was stepping down, and he then tweeted that he decided to quit. That was then followed by, oh, maybe he's coming back because I think they realized the perhaps error of their ways and or the impact of that move
The
was
impact. Yeah.
worse than they thought. And then that didn't end up happening, and OpenAI ended up hiring another now interim CEO. And then to cap things off, Sam and Greg were announced that they were joining Microsoft to lead a new AI research division. And now, as of today, that might still be happening, or he might be going back to OpenAI. But regardless of that, there are some fundamental things that have happened here that have drastic implications to the overall market. So we'll start with what is the broad impact to the AI ecosystem based on all that's happened, particularly around OpenAI and the other markets. So I'll let you start.
I think, first of all, I would say I haven't experienced like a news cycle as crazy as this as the time when Microsoft bought Nokia.
Mm.
With where everybody was just focused on tech, and for 48 hours there was crazy, just trying to make sense of what was going on. This was similar in that the impact that it had on everybody watching the space, but it was definitely less, I guess, thought through from a strategy perspective, as you were hinting, the fact that OpenAI seemed to have changed their mind, and we're still unclear as to what exactly happened. But it seems to be that there was basically a discrepancy between their initial goal, which was a non-profit, right? And so bringing AI to everyone and doing it in a pragmatic, safe, ethical way, and what is become now a business, because OpenAI has taken money, uh, a lot from Microsoft and others to commercialize and productize what they have, which is chat GPT. So I think my first thought is, okay, you have people like Microsoft that are jumping on working with an entity, because it's not a company, that is really not well regulated. And you and I were chatting over the weekend and saying, well, a lot of the buy into chat GPT was because of Sam, because people, believed in him and his vision and his capabilities, not because of a board. And so I think that that's the first thing, that when you get to a technology that is going to be as impactful as Gen AI, and you have so many big players that are basically building a whole business and a huge growth opportunity from a business perspective, that's not where we're going to see people going in the future, right? The risk was just too high.
Yeah, I think the most interesting observation for the fallout for me has been just how the confidence of the ecosystem around OpenAI has been shaken. So lots of developers have been building around the ChatGPT APIs, using that as a part of the Azure stack, right? I think it's important to realize the very close collaboration that when you're working on ChatGPT, you're also now running on the Azure stack, hence the strategy for Microsoft. But I talked to a bunch of friends in AI startups over the weekend who were just sort of calling me like, what the heck happened? What do we do? And all of them were starting to look at alternate options to OpenAI. And I think that's the thing that, to me, no matter how this situation resolves, whether Sam goes back or Microsoft still decides to work with OpenAI, with Sam a part of Microsoft, confidence needs to be restored. Damage control needs to happen so that people believe that this is a stable company with a stable and dependable technology that they can build their companies around, their business around, or their software around. And that's all in flux right now. So I think that's the main point number one. But I also think that's why Satya Nadella and even just Greg Brockman and Sam Altman were saying we're still working with you, we're still supporting you. They didn't want it to make it sound like this company was just dead overnight, because they know how much business is still built around ChatGPT right now. But tons of damage control and resolution is going to have to be made, because again, Microsoft is very intertwined, and there is a much larger ecosystem that's been built around OpenAI than I think people realize.
I don't disagree with you, but I would say that the situation could have been slightly different if Microsoft was in a position today to have its own foundational model and just say, see ya, we invested, but we are independent now and we can move forward. I do think that there's a difference between what you're talking about, which is the loss of confidence in OpenAI, and the risk mitigation that now every company will want to have as to have a plan B, and confidence in generative AI as a technology, which I don't think was impacted by this. This is all business, right? There's nothing that was said that put any doubts on how good ChatGPT is or the value that generative AI is going to have. If anything, from the reaction that we're seeing in the market, we see how critical it's going to be and how companies want to make sure that they don't put their business and business opportunity at risk by partnering with with a company that cannot be, execute in a business-like fashion, because this was, not really business-like fashion.
Yeah. So that leads us to sort of the implications for Microsoft. I mean, you made the great point, which is they've partnered with OpenAI as their foundational model. Competitors like Amazon and Google have invested in developing their own foundational models. I think people will debate how competitive they are compared to OpenAI, but regardless, Microsoft was highly tied to OpenAI's fate, which is why even like the days after ChatGPT were launched, I even think we were talking about this, but I told others like Microsoft should just buy this company. But then, knowing we knew how much they invested in them, I think it was pretty clear they probably wouldn't pass regulatory scrutiny, because they are big tech, and this is now this platform play. So now we're in a position where they have parts in place. If Sam Altman and Greg Brockman and team come to Microsoft AI, they have the resources, they have the capital, they have the talent to develop their own foundational model and essentially be more full stack AI, which is really how I think they've been talking about themselves relative to infrastructure. But the software side, that's been that missing piece. And so whether that's good or bad, right? Using a third party or owning your own, I think the latter is highly strategic, but again comes with perhaps regulatory risks, other pressures and things and safety mitigations that they have to own versus a third party being responsible for that. To me, this is a strategic rebuild, if you will. In any way this shakes out, there's going to have to be some rebuilding of this part of the stack for Microsoft, at least from kind of how I see it right now.
Yeah, but it's to your point about regulation. An acquisition would have never passed, right?
Right.
Because of how dependent the whole ecosystem is, and so this possibly worked out best for Microsoft. The fact that immediately after the news, Nadella made it very clear in several interviews that anyone who wants to leave OpenAI is welcome at Microsoft. Others have done that as well. Bainoff said the same thing. Um, you clearly see that this could be a way for Microsoft to acquire the talent that it needs to build this independent foundational model and a new stack. But I think you know better than I do. Even if they do that, this is not going to set back the industry or their growth opportunity, right? We're talking about months, not years, to do that. And in the meantime, they can continue to work with the tools that they have. So all in all, it seems like they're going to be left in a favorable position from a growth opportunity perspective.
Yeah, agree. So the broader landscape, I hate using the term, and this won't be how we end and standardize, but winners and losers. I think the reality right now is to me the clearest winner from this is open source foundational models, because you've heard this, and even a lot of the Hugging Face executive
Mm.
team has been saying, this is, if we needed any more clarification that open source models were necessary because you don't let your future be tied to one company who can change the terms immediately on you, this is that moment. And I think they were even saying they're seeing just record downloads of open source models. So yes, I think open source is a clear winner. I think that's obviously what everybody's going to be now exploring as said plan B. So to me, that's the biggest winner. And secondarily, should something happen to OpenAI and it has to dissolve or people move, then Microsoft, perhaps Amazon, like you said, Salesforce, maybe Google, they will all welcome these people with open arms. And so the broader ecosystem perhaps grows, and or competitors get advantages they didn't have before because of this fallout.
Yeah, I think the open source point is interesting because to some extent goes against the point I made earlier about not trusting an entity like OpenAI to control your future because it's not structured like a traditional business company, right? But at the same time, to your point, being tied to only one source, one brand, one entity for your foundational model does put risk on your business. And I think that what we've seen, at least from conversations that we are having with customers and players in the market, is that everybody from an enterprise perspective wants to build on top of those foundational models. Like only a few big players want to create that bedrock, if you like, that then all the other enterprises are going to build from and fine tune for their own models. And I think that's the other part, is that sometimes people misunderstand the role, and I get asked oftentimes, who are the key players, what is everybody else doing, as if nobody can grow their own business because Amazon, Google, Microsoft are the ones controlling those foundational models. That's not how it works, right? There's opportunity for growth for any business that is then going to use generative AI to change their business, their go-to-market, what have you, and create new revenue opportunity. So the opportunity that there is broadly from an AI perspective is really impacting every business out there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think just closing on reinforcing the point that you said at the beginning, this is not slowing down. In fact, if anything, you might even argue that this has accentuated the importance of AI, especially these foundational models, to how critical they are to many companies business processes and many developers processes going forward. And then this sort of closing point that I kind of continually want to hit on also, which is what's at stake here from a platform standpoint. If you say, Microsoft was a platform tied with OpenAI, Google's a platform, Amazon's a platform, et cetera, is for developers. The battle is for the next generation of AI software developers who will write that software for consumers and for enterprise. And that's what this competition is about. And that's where there's implications of what happens with OpenAI, what happens with Microsoft, who gains a lead in that competitive ecosystem. And that's the battle we're in right now, where I think all these things are shaking out, and we don't know the answer to that, but it's really about get those developers.
Yeah, and I think linked to that as well is data, right? Is the fact that you need the developers to take advantage of the data to then put into the AI engine, because without the data, they're as smart as we are. There's the ability to take the data that you have to then generate independently solutions and answers and anything that you want to create with your generative AI model. And that's why, to some extent, people still focus on the big players, the Google, the AWS, and Microsoft, because those are the ones that are able to garner data and then use that data to feed into the model and drive value in that way. So I agree with you on the developer side, and then I would say that the data scientist side is the other part. And I think the line between the two is going to be more and more blurred, right? That the data scientists are the kind of the developers of tomorrow in a way.
Yeah. Good points. Well, we want to keep these short and sweet. That's our goal with Bit by Bit. So thanks for listening, and stay tuned for the next episode.
Bye.